be a computer issue, could be some sort of a technical issue.
A water bill mystery in San Diego. People shocked by just how much they're being charged, and the city leaders who are trying to sort it out.
The idea that they're not drawing from the general fund is subterfuge. If you're spending taxpayer money, be honest, say so.
Expand San Diego State into Mission Valley, and the question over how to pay for SDSU West.
They're a staple of the Marine Corps. Now residents around Coronado are about to find out how the Osprey could impact their neighborhood. KPBS Evening Edition starts right now.
Good evening, and thanks for joining us. I'm Ebony Monet. A budget breakthrough in the U.S. Senate, but getting a new spending agreement through the House may be more of a challenge.
First and foremost, this bipartisan agreement will unwind the sequestration cuts that have hamstrung our armed forces and jeopardized our national security.
I believe we have reached a budget deal that neither side loves, but both sides can be proud of. That's compromise. That's governing.
Here are some of the details. The 2-year deal waives mandatory spending cuts that have been in place since 2011. The military would get a major budget increase. The children's health insurance program would be extended, and money would be set aside for disaster relief, including the recent fires in California. A vote is expected by the end of the week to avoid another government shutdown. Fiscally conservative House Republicans say they oppose the Senate deal, which means more Democratic votes will be needed. On the eve of Congress's spending bill deadline, the fate of nearly 2 million young immigrants is still uncertain. While the Senate reaches an agreement, some in the House say they won't give the bill a green light without a promise to protect immigrants brought to the U.S. illegally as children. Thousands of them have been temporarily protected with a program known as DACA, but it's set to expire in March. KPBS Frontiers reporter Jean Guerrero is at a rally near the border wall.
I'm at Borderfield State Park, where dozens of people are gathering to demand what they're calling a Clean Dream Act. Congress has been unable to agree on a bill to protect immigrants brought here legally as children. That's because of a tug of war between those who want the border wall to be a part of the bill and those who don't. The young people here say they're not okay being used as a tool for increased border security. One of them is Fernanda Madrigal, who's marching to the border wall. She's had DACA since 2013. Fernanda, what brings you here today?
We just undocumented youth. We want to make sure that we let people know that we're not willing to be used as bargaining chips for policies that are going to push the rest of our community deep into the shadows.
Great, thank you. The protesters are marching to the border wall because it's literally and figuratively the only thing that's standing between them and a sense of security in the United States. Reporting from the border wall, Jean Guerrero, KPBS News.
Washington, D.C. is taking a closer look at San Onofre as workers continue to dismantle the plant. Workers started moving spent fuel rods last week. They're storing radioactive waste in cylinders partly buried on site, about 100 feet from the ocean. Today, Senator Kamala Harris co-sponsored 2 bills that call for increasing safety and security at decommissioned sites like San Onofre. One of the bills gives states and local communities a bigger role in plans for retired nuclear plants. Tonight, people have a chance to weigh in on a Navy plan that could change the skies over Coronado. The plan proposes flying V-22 Osprey carriers in the area. KPBS military reporter Steve Walsh joins us from a public meeting at the Coronado Community Center. Steve, what's happening there?
All right, so Ebony, there's a meeting that's going on tonight to explain something new that's going on with the Navy. Now, these are a familiar sight in North County. These tilt rotor planes convert to a kind of a helicopter. It's a staple of the Marine Corps, and now the Navy is looking at adopting the Osprey to replace the aging C-2 Greyhound. which is a plane that's been used for decades to supply aircraft carriers. So to talk a little bit about this, we've got Ted Brown, who is a spokesman for the Navy and who's with the project. Ted, welcome.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. Good to be here.
All right, so why replace I've learned a little bit about the Greyhound. It's been around since the 60s. Why replace it now?
The Greyhound has been a great airframe for the Navy, but it's reached the end of its service life. It's been flying since the 1960s, and the Navy's decided to make a Navy variant of the MV-22, the Osprey aircraft, and use that for our cargo logistics mission out to our aircraft carriers.
So the Navy really hadn't been using we've seen them with the Marine Corps, but the Navy really hasn't been using them up to this point. How come?
No, at this point the Navy does not have any because we've been using the C-2 for that mission. The Marine Corps has been using it for quite some time, and the Air Force has V-22s as well. And the Navy's made the decision to purchase this aircraft to succeed the venerable COD aircraft.
Okay. So the Osprey is not without controversy. When you introduce these, or when the Marine Corps has introduced these in Japan and Hawaii, there have been concerns from neighbors about the potential noise. I mean, what can we expect?
Well, we have released to the public and completed a draft environmental assessment, and as part of that assessment, we did a very thorough noise assessment. And what our analysis found is the actual difference is very slight in the actual noise volume between the two aircraft. It will sound a little bit different. It's a tilt rotor aircraft, so it will sound a little bit different than the C-2, but the actual noise levels are very similar.
The noise levels are very, because I've been around these, and these can be quite loud.
Well, again, we've actually measured the noise and then done noise modeling to determine the impacts to the community. And again, what the actual measurements show is that it's a different sound, but it's very similar levels.
So you'll notice it, but it won't necessarily be louder.
Correct, yeah.
And I mean, the other concern with the Osprey, they've been around for a long time themselves. It's a proven technology, but there also have been incidents. I think they count some 37 deaths on the Osprey. Is this a safe aircraft to be flying around Coronado?
Well, we believe it is, yes. I mean, with the introduction of any new technology, there's always going to be some issues, but the Marine Corps has been flying that aircraft now for quite a few years. The Navy believes it's going to be a very safe airframe to replace the C-2 with, and we're very confident that we'll be able to fly safely.
All right, so this public hearing starts at 6:30 at the Coronado Community Center. I see some pilots out here. What can people expect if they want to come out?
Well, absolutely. It's going to be an open house format meeting starting at 6:30, lasting until 8:30, and we'll have various poster stations on various aspects of the project with subject matter experts at the poster station to answer the public's questions. And some of those folks here are pilots. A couple of them are in the process of transitioning from the C-2 to the V-22, and then we'll have experts in various other areas as well.
And the Navy is essentially studying this plan, and the public comment for this will go on. If you can't make it tonight, it goes all the way up to February 26th if you want to comment.
Exactly. The public comment period goes until February 26th, and there are a number of ways to comment. You can either send comments to the website, email, or mail.
And we'll get that to our website as well. But reporting here from the Coronado Community Center here, Steve Walsh, KPBS News.
Thanks, Steve. San Diego County's Sierra Club stands to get a windfall from a local solar energy installer. KPBS environment reporter Eric Anderson has the story.
Sullivan Solar Power is donating $500 to the club every time a club member installs a new solar system and mentions the partnership. Richard Miller is the Sierra Club's local development officer, and he says the relationship carries the chance to raise significant money for the local chapter.
We want everybody to declare an energy independence from SDG&E and to go solar to help us better the environment, better our quality of life here in San Diego.
Miller says the local utility doesn't do enough on the renewable energy front, but San Diego Gas and Electric's Joe Britton disagrees.
We currently offer our customers 43% renewable energy. That's compared to the national average of about 8%. And we are well on our way to meeting or exceeding the state's goal of 50% by the year 2030.
The Sierra Club has 16,000 members in San Diego County. The arrangement was vetted by the group's national organization. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
There's been a big shakeup at the San Diego Union Tribune. It's been sold again, this time to biotech billionaire Patrick Soon-Chung out of Los Angeles. In a $500 million deal, he now owns both the Union Tribune and LA Times. So what does this mean for our local paper? KPBS reporter Jade Hindman has more.
Well, Patrick Soon-Chung will be the Union Tribune's fourth owner since it was sold by the Copley Press in 2009. Hal Fuson was counsel and board chair for Copley Press. He hopes the new private ownership will mean more investment into the news product, a benefit to readers.
We need to have a core of informed local citizens who pay attention and do what they can to move us ahead. And the newspaper is an engine that can help them get there. But without them, there are no passengers on our train.
And Fuson says the sale brings optimism to a paper that's had a rough decade with staff cuts and restructuring. Jade Hindman, KPBS News.
Flu season isn't showing signs of slowing down just yet. After seeing a downward trend since December, the county is reporting 835 new cases of the flu. That's up about 200 from the previous week. The county is also reporting 25 new deaths compared to 32 the week prior. Fetal alcohol disorders may be more prevalent than autism. That's the conclusion from a new study from UC San Diego. KPBS health reporter Kenny Goldberg has details.
Researchers screened more than 6,000 first graders in 4 different parts of the country. They discovered that 1 to 5% of children had a fetal alcohol spectrum disorder. Dr. Christina Chambers is co-author of the study and co-director of UCSD's Center for Better Beginnings. She says it's important to make the comparison between alcohol-related disorders and autism.
Because here's a disorder that's at least as common or more common than autism spectrum disorders, but has not received near the attention, both from the standpoint of early identification, prevention, and treatment for these kids.
Prenatal alcohol exposure is the leading preventable cause of birth defects and neurological problems. Doctors say there is no known safe level of alcohol use during pregnancy. Kenny Goldberg, KPBS News.
I'm John Yang. Tonight on the NewsHour, Senate leaders reach a 2-year budget deal. We break down the details and the politics. Coming up at 7 right after Evening Edition on KPBS.
Well, it's feeling warmer than usual here in San Diego, but Erin Calandra says a cool down is on the way. She has more in tonight's forecast.
Well, hopefully you enjoyed your day today. Thank you for joining us. We are seeing pretty dry conditions here all across the county and across the southwest as well. Although we did have some fog this morning, some clouds, but turned out to be a pretty nice day. Not much happening. And again, not much happening across the region. It is awfully dry. We're actually in a drought here across the Southern California region. So for tonight, it's going to be pretty uneventful, 53 degrees with clear skies. We're going to see fewer clouds and fog tonight and in the morning than we did see this morning. So tomorrow, a bit nicer of a morning for you. Oceanside 42, Poway 48 for the low, and Alpine 47 degrees. Ramona in at 45 degrees. Now, records challenged here Thursday. Look at these temps. Back in 1996, Palm Springs was 91 degrees. Vegas 77 back in 2015, and Phoenix 86 back in 1970. All of these temperatures are going to be challenged Thursday because it's going to be an awfully warm day. San Diego 77, Poway 86, and Alpine 82, Ramona 84 degrees. These temperatures are all well above average. San Diego, for example, should be in the low to mid 60s this time of year. We're talking 77, and these are the type of temperatures that we have seen for weeks. So it is certainly a very warm pattern. We will see a big dip in the jet stream this weekend, and that's going to pull some very cold air down across much of the central part of our country. That's not going to reach us, but we do expect to have a low pressure system push through, and that is going to drop our temperatures for the weekend, and we could potentially, there's a very small chance, could see a light shower in places Monday into Tuesday. So taking a look at the temperatures across the coast, well, starting at 78 by the weekend, we're down in the 60s. Monday, the coldest day, which is still above average at 67 degrees. In the interior areas in the 80s, dropping down to about 70. Could could see a shower there on Monday. Slim chance, but it could happen. And then in the mountains, we are in the 60s, dropping down to 51 by Monday. And in the deserts, we're still pretty warm in the 80s, dropping down to those mid-70s. For KPBS News, I'm Erin Calandra. Ebony, back to you.
What would you do if you opened your water bill and found it had gone up by thousands of dollars? Residents around San Diego say their bill shows their water usage suddenly doubled, tripled, and in some cases quadrupled. These residents also allege the city hasn't been willing to correct their bills. But now a city councilwoman is demanding answers. KPBS reporter Claire Tragesser has more.
We have no idea what's causing it.
City Councilwoman Barbara Bree has a mystery on her hands. Why so many San Diego residents are suddenly getting water bills for thousands of dollars.
This could be a computer issue, could be some sort of a technical issue.
She has called for an audit of San Diego's Public Utilities Department after getting almost 100 complaints from constituents and hearing from other council members that they'd received reports of high water bills as well. Councilman Chris Cate also sent a memo at the end of January asking what's causing the abnormally high bills. He wrote this issue has affected multiple neighborhoods, including households in Mira Mesa, who saw their bills increase as high as 400%. He added his office has yet to receive an adequate explanation for the increase. A spokesman for the Public Utilities Department said he did not know what's causing the bill spikes beyond a 6.9% rate increase last July and a longer billing period. But that doesn't explain the more than $3,800 Normal Heights resident Scott Templeton was told he owed. Just before Christmas, he received corrected bills from the water department stating his family had used more than 1,000 gallons of water a day since March 2017. That's about 10 times what they used to use daily.
It was just before Christmas, and we didn't want to pay thousands of dollars for a water bill that we were pretty sure was wrong. But the bill also said that they would cut off our water if we didn't pay it in full.
He sent a letter to the city requesting they recheck his water meter and explain how the readings were so off. He never heard back from the water department, but now when he checks his bill online, it's been changed to a normal amount in the hundreds of dollars instead of thousands. The water department spokesman confirmed he doesn't owe any money. Still, he's not satisfied.
To this day, we've never received anything in writing from the city explaining that the billing was wrong or that they made a mistake or anything like that. But we're going to keep pursuing this because we don't want this to happen to us and we don't want it to happen to other people either.
It's too many cases in a short period of time that I believe that something is wrong.
Councilwoman Bree agrees the city and its residents need answers. The audit will be done in June, if not sooner. But residents with these sky-high bills are still expected to pay or their water will be shut off. So Bree is asking the water department to allow people to pay what their bill was last year until the audit is complete.
It's really important for people to have trust in government, to trust that the bill they get is accurate.
Claire Tragesser, KPBS News.
If you think your water bill is too high, you can contact Councilwoman Barbara Bree. Go to kpbs.org for details. California is joining a legal fight over a federal decision that could impact water quality. The Environmental Protection Agency has rolled back the 2015 Clean Water Rule, which expanded the bodies of water that must comply with federal standards. The lawsuit claims the EPA and other agencies have not provided a rational explanation for the action.
And serve as sort of a cleaning system for other water. So, we have to do something to make sure that 5% of those that are still healthy and there and haven't been seriously disturbed or gone away entirely, we have to make sure those are protected.
California is one of 10 states taking part in the legal challenge. San Diego State University's vision to reshape part of Mission Valley into an auxiliary campus is being touted as a $3 billion plan that will not use taxpayer dollars. But KPBS reporter Eric Anderson says the promise about public funding may not be an ironclad directive.
San Diego State University officials unveiled their vision for the Mission Valley Stadium site last November. The concept included a sports stadium, housing, commercial, and office space, along with a proposal for a river park. John Kratzer of JMI Realty says the school asked him to design a regional asset with a campus environment using a transparent process. It also had to meet one other standard.
No reliance on tax dollars. One of the very first things that Sally challenged me with is the fact that this plan has to be financeable on a standalone basis with no reliance on tax dollars.
Sally is Sally Roush, San Diego State University's president. She reiterated that point when questioned pointedly by reporters.
There will be no reliance on taxpayer funds, or university funds is what we typically refer to them as. The only bond financing that we anticipate would be the stadium, which will be revenue bonds issued, and those revenue bonds will be covered by revenue generated by the stadium.
But despite those public assurances, the initiative that allows the city to sell 133 acres of property to San Diego State does not carry a prohibition on public funding. The 14-page measure does prohibit the creation of any new or additional taxes to pay for the sale, and it prohibits the use of the city's general fund money to build the river park. But it does not stop developers from tapping already existing local or state public funds that might be designated for, say, building a park.
If we can get them, why shouldn't we get them? They're there for park purposes.
Steve Doyle is a member of the SDSU West Steering Committee. He's helping pitch the sale to local planning boards, and he sees some distinctions between different kinds of public money.
It's considered public money, but is it taxpayer money? When a developer pays a fee into a fund, into an account, that account has a project schedule for what it's going to do. And one of those things that it's going to do is build a park in Mission Valley. Developer money comes in, it sits in that account until there's enough money in that account to build that park. So if they're already collecting dollars for this park, why wouldn't they access those dollars, which came in from developer fees, to build the park? That didn't come from taxpayers. It came from developers.
Doyle is one of 4 co-authors of a local newspaper editorial last fall urging the public to back the SDSU West initiative. Malin Burnham, Kim Kilkenny, and Jack McGrory joined Doyle in saying that, quote, this initiative would authorize the sale of the existing stadium site to SDSU at fair market value. This unlocks tremendous potential for 133 acres in Mission Valley and an opportunity to create a plan that would require zero city funds, unquote. That was published in the San Diego Union Tribune, October 13th, 2017.
And you're okay with hearing the president of the university say, we're not going to use any public money on this project?
Yes.
And
because
you don't feel uncomfortable that some people might look at that and say, but money from a city account, money from a state fund?
I am not uncomfortable with it.
And you don't think it's inaccurate?
I don't think it's inaccurate.
And you feel okay going to the voter and saying, look, we're not going to use taxpayer dollars?
That's correct.
Even though you may use taxpayer dollars?
Even though there may be taxpayer dollars coming from a state bond initiative, yes. We're not going to raise your taxes. Those bond money's already there.
Richard Ryder is chairman of San Diego Tax Fighters. The group is concerned about taxes at the state and local level and calls itself a pro-taxpayer advocacy group.
The idea that they're not drawing from the general fund is subterfuge. It's dishonest because there's, by omission, indicating they're not using taxpayer dollars. It doesn't matter whether it comes from a special fund, the gas fund, there's all sorts of designated funds that the government has. They're all taxpayer money. If you're spending taxpayer money, be honest, say so.
The SDSU West initiative has not yet qualified for the ballot. Friends of SDSU are waiting to hear if they submitted enough valid signatures to bring a ballot measure in front of the council and eventually voters. Word is expected soon from the Registrar of Voters. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
Full disclosure, KPBS is a service of San Diego State University. A treat for girls at the Boys and Girls Club of San Diego and Canto Branch. Today, about 20 middle school girls were gifted with designer winter formal dresses. The dresses are from Believe in Yourself. The nonprofit aims to empower young girls and promote confidence. Leaders of the organization say they want to build up girls' self-esteem and say this donation will help ensure finances don't stand in the way. Coming up tomorrow on Evening Edition, we'll show you how the program impacts young women beyond fashion. Now, here's a look at some of the stories we're working on in the KPBS newsroom. On Morning Edition, the opening ceremonies for the Winter Olympic Games is just around the corner. We'll have a preview of the men's hockey team from North Korea. And on Midday Edition, when science and food intersect, discover the flavors of the Fermentation Festival in Encinitas. That's tomorrow on KPBS Radio. You can find tonight's stories online at kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. Have a great evening.